So the next thing I'll say, once you have all of your stands put in, kind of how you want them, I would say you want to decide. You should decide from the get go, but decide kind of what your purpose is going to be of the stadium. Are you looking to actually play in game with it, or are you just looking to build a nice looking ballpark for screenshot purposes, right? Like, you see a lot of stadiums that are detailed and all that around the outside. Um, but in reality, if you're trying to actually play with that in like a franchise mode or road to the show, you're never gonna see that. So it's a waste of assets and memory to build anything really outside of the stadium that you're not gonna see. So kind of determine what you're going for and then base your next steps based on that kind of thing. So what I normally do is I don't have a save for it to demonstrate it, but once I have all my stands kind of placed in, I go through and I actually build in everything that I know I'm gonna need in the stadium, and I just place it down so I know. It allows me to always have a sense of how much memory I have left. So like a scoreboard. So we'll place that. If you want to do, just kind of focus on the bigger items. So like concession stands. If I know there's a couple of those that I'm gonna want, I'll place those, and just kind of place them off to the side, and just kind of place however many you're gonna use, just so you can actually you have them in the game and you know how much memory you have to work with. So just kind of getting the big ones out of the way. I'll do the same thing with let's see, signs too. Just kind of getting all those that I know I'm gonna have in the ballpark at some point. That's kind of just planning out ahead of time. Some of them I think look more realistic than others. Like I'll keep the AL one in there, especially if I'm building a park for the Rays. Just kind of stuff like that. Same with scoreboards. They also have these little ones that I like to place. Let's see, where to go? That one. Zoom in. So you got like all of your scores around the league, and then you also have these. I'll place those on the the upper deck stands. Just kind of, it gives it more life just around the ballpark. So it's cool in my opinion. So yeah, so that's what I'll do. I'll just place all of those around the outside of the ballpark. Same with if you know you're gonna do some like bigger features, like with this particular ballpark, I did have this in there. So just adding the bigger items so that you know how much memory you're working with. It goes a long way. So okay, so going back to my point about focusing on what you're actually gonna use the ballpark for, and then placing assets based on that. It is important. So the way I do it, I obviously build for franchise mode and using the ballpark in game. So with that in mind, you want to focus on the areas that are actually going to be seen in the camera. So you're looking your batter's eye, so like all of this, that's going to be viewed. A lot of the camera angles will show like that angle too. Same with that angle. And then you obviously get straight behind the plate. And maybe some outfield if you're doing like a player focus. But outside of that, like if you notice looking at those angles, you can't see anything on the ground. So unless you're building a ballpark that doesn't have tall stands or anything like that. Like if you're building a high school stadium, you don't need to place roadways and all that. It's completely pointless because number one, they take up a lot of memory actually, and number two, you're never gonna see them in the game outside of this creator. So they're pretty useless to build. I do put some decoration on the outside of the city just because I do make videos for these, but I don't go into crazy detail with roads or anything. I focus on what you're going to see from home plate, where you're going to be hitting balls, and just kind of anything behind here. So that's how I focus on that. That's why you kind of see all of my detail in my stadiums is usually behind the outfield wall, and then just doing different things with the stands just to make them more interesting. So and then you can kind of see from the last step, you can see where I placed these just to kind of give the upper deck some life too. The middle deck has those signs now, which is kind of a huge addition too, in my opinion. So yeah, but then you can kind of see, like I was talking before, I took all these assets and I actually built them out and just placed them over here like I did in that last step, and just so I always knew how much memory I had left, and then I could just kind of place them as I built out the actual area for them. So there's that. All right, on to the next point.